Campaign for the NHS. Don't let it go. Stop Johnson's bill on the NHS. Stop giving it to his cronies and his speculators. Fight for the NHS like your grandparents did, and we'll win it. Thank you.
As John Lennon, a son of this city, said, all we are saying is give peace a chance. For peace to have a chance, we need to stop this cycle of death, this cycle of money over human rights. We need to say no. We need to show solidarity to the people who are being injured by this, and we need to find a better way. Our city is better than this. Liverpool is better than this. And that's why I'm here today.
So when people say, move on, it's a long time ago, we cannot forget that. More importantly, we cannot forget what has happened to our communities that lie devastated and destroyed and abandoned.
Welcome to the 5th episode of MPATV. It's not just for pensioners, but for everyone.
Tories out! Tories out! Tories out! Tories out!
The Tory government is dismantling the NHS. They plan to replace it with what they describe as integrated care systems. In plain language, it will mean the NHS will become the servant of multinational companies who will put profit before the needs of patients. More hospitals will close and more jobs will be lost. You will lose the right to see a family doctor. Private health corporations will decide policy, and the NHS will change into a US-style healthcare system. Nye Bevan, the founder of the NHS, said, "The NHS will last as long as there are folk left with the faith to fight for it." MPATV has been out following campaigners who are fighting to save the NHS.
Well, we just want to draw attention to the fact that if this health and care bill goes through, that's the end of the NHS. It'll be totally privatised. Nye Bevan was asked how long will the NHS last, and he said as long as people fight for it. And we want to carry on fighting for it. It seems Keir Starmer and the right wing of the Labour Party are not fighting for us. So it's up to people like us, and we want to make the people aware so that the people come out and fight for our wonderful NHS.
You'll have the big American insurance-based corporations moving in. I mean, people know about Centene having taken over 59 GP practices up and down the country, about 40 in London alone. And these things will go bit by bit by bit. It won't be a privatisation like the utilities or anything like that. They won't do that. It's not politically possible, it's not economically possible. It'll be bit by bit by bit. All of a sudden you'll find that large American insurance-based corporations are making all the decisions.
Worst aspects of this is the public don't even know. This was not covered on mainstream media this morning, and it has got such a profound impact for every person in this country, because we really do need the health service. We're going to have an unregulated market with private corporations delivering the services, because the system is now geared towards profit, not people.
What's going through Parliament today is a disaster for the NHS. It's a disaster for ordinary people. It's a disaster even for those who think they're a bit posh and they can pay a bit. We need the NHS for all of us, from birth to death. We need the NHS. Keep fighting, folks. Campaign for the NHS. Don't let it go. Stop Johnson's bill on the NHS. Stop giving it to his cronies and his speculators. Fight for the NHS like your grandparents did, and we'll win it. Thank you.
Boom time now for companies. The private sector scripts are having a lovely time today. Public sector wages freeze and lots of jobs for them to take away. We won't let our service die. You told a lie, that's why making a lot of noise. Your time is up, Remover is coming to take you all away, because you're sick little Tory, sad little Tory, cruel little Tory boy.
Stay with us, because later on in the programme we will be talking to former miner John Dunn about the Orgreave Justice Campaign. The MPA is working for a just world where conflict is resolved without the use of force. So it will come as no surprise to viewers that we've been out campaigning to stop an arms fair that is scheduled to take place in Liverpool. The organisers of the electronic arms fair are expecting to host it from the 11th to the 13th of October 2021. The arms trade is corrupt, unstable, and fuels the death and maiming of innocent civilians across the world. The MPA and others were out in force lobbying Liverpool City Council at their last full council meeting. The fair is scheduled to take place in a council-owned venue.
I'm here to support the protest against the electronic arms fair coming to Liverpool. Just looking at the devastation that arms cause around the world, all over the world, it's terrible that they should be encouraged to come and display their wares in Liverpool, a city which has a radical tradition. Today I've been looking at pictures of my home country, Nigeria, where there are people being executed en masse by armed bandits for whatever reason, I don't know, but the fact is that these arms that are making their way into the hands of these people from this part of the world and from the manufacturers here, it's really shocking. I just hope and expect that the councillors will take notice and stop it.
We think that it's wrong for a city like Liverpool, indeed anywhere, to be host to organisations which promote death and destruction, oppression, and some of the obscenities of war. And the fact that this is then hosted as a worthwhile event is an absolute outrage. It's a scandal, and as socialists we're opposed not only to war and exploitation, but to the glorification of it and the profit that comes from it.
We are against war. We're for peace, and we won't have these people bringing their merchandise to our city. And the fact that it's anything to do with the public building, that it's to do with our council, that they didn't write the right things in their contracts to make sure that anybody like them, completely not in tune with the people of Liverpool, are using our facilities to sell warfare.
Why do we want to be anything part of this? In Liverpool, as John Lennon, a son of this city, said, all we are saying is give peace a chance. For peace to have a chance, we need to stop this cycle of death, this cycle of money over human rights. We need to say no, we need to show solidarity to the people who are being injured by this, and we need to find a better way. Our city is better than this. Liverpool is better than this. And that's why I'm here today.
What could be done instead is we could invest the funds into helpful technology. For example, local transport. We could build buses, we can build new trains. Humanity is advancing with technology, so we should build technology that actually helps people and not kill people.
Liverpool is a city of peace. The council's decision not to oppose an arms fair scheduled to take place in a council-owned venue, effectively owned by the people of Liverpool, is bitterly disappointing. The ACC Liverpool Group, who operate the venue, is a company controlled by Liverpool City Council, but the council claims they have no power to intervene. Strange that, because the Local Government and Housing Act 1989 states clearly that the local authority have, quote, the power to appoint or remove a majority of the board of directors of the company. We invited the Mayor of Liverpool, Joanne Anderson, onto the programme, but we didn't get a reply. The miners' strike began in 1984 when the then Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher, broke an agreement with the National Union of Mine Workers and decided to shut down Cortonwood Colliery in Yorkshire. Thatcher was a powerful warrior for the ruling class and wanted to break the NUM and had built up oil and coal reserves to mitigate the impact of any strike by miners in opposition to pit closures. Arch strikebreaker Ian McGregor, who made a career out of attacking trade unions, was made chairman of the National Coal Board to break the NUM. The strike, led by Arthur Scargill, drew support from rank-and-file trade unionists and communities across the UK. Labour parties twinned with individual pits. At the time, I was a member of Bethnal Green and Stepney Labour Party, and we twinned with Kiverton Park Colliery in South Yorkshire. I photographed activities around the strike, but I also filmed stuff with a very primitive VHS camera. Miners from Kiverton joined us as we collected money for striking miners and their families during the strike. Each Saturday, we would stand outside the supermarkets in Watney Market and collect money and food for Kiverton Park, as well as handing out leaflets. Once we had enough food, we hired a van and drove to South Yorkshire with the food and money.
The economic situation in this country is affecting everybody, not only miners, and people in London, the only working people, that can see how it's affecting them, and they realise that if they can hit the miners, who've traditionally been a strong area of the working class, if they can get smashed, what chance have they? Because they're not as organised as the miners, have a strong union and a strong community, and they must have some affinity. Well, I think all working people do have an affinity anyway.
The miners were really up against the forces of the state. The police were retrained to break strikes and given extraordinary powers. Pickets' cars were stopped and turned back. Villages and districts were cordoned off. The president of the NUM, Arthur Scargill, was demonised by the press and media, just as, in recent times, Jeremy Corbyn was demonised by the mainstream media. An old friend of the MPA, former miner John Dunn, has been campaigning for many years as part of the Orgreave Truth and Justice Campaign.
The violence and intimidation we have seen should never have happened. It is the work of extremists. It is the enemy within.
Amber Rudd stood up in Parliament on Halloween, channeling the spirit of Margaret Thatcher and all the dead Tory ghouls, and said, "There's no need for a public inquiry because it's been a long time. Lessons have been learnt. The police have moved on and learnt all the lessons. Tell the people who are protesting against fracking that the police have moved on and learnt those lessons." She also said, "Nobody died." That was pure luck when you see young kids in T-shirts, trainers, being smashed about the head. There's one famous scene where a lad in a red T-shirt is being battered to pieces. His name's Russell Broomhead. The copper was identified, was exposed, never ever charged, even though he's on every television camera doing that. Of course, there's the famous instance of the BBC saying it was us that rioted, that miners built barricades and rioted. Well, I often say I'm not an expert on military strategy, but I'm pretty sure you go behind a barricade to defend yourself, not to attack. And on that day, The myth that on a bright sunny day, young men from all over the country decided to put on the best t-shirts, a pair of shorts and a pair of plimsolls. We didn't have trainers in them days, did we? And decide, I'm going to go to a field in South Yorkshire and hopefully 6,000 policemen will be having a picnic. And we're going to go and attack them. And we're going to attack these heavily armed policemen on horseback. That was the myth that was perpetuated throughout the strike. And if they think that just because it's a long time ago that we've forgotten what happened to us, not just at Orgreave, but in every mining village, in every mining town. April the 9th, 1984, months before Orgreave, was when a copper took a shine to the back of my head. September of that year was when I was found guilty of threatening behaviour, for having my head smashed in the back of my head, and for watching and besetting, an act from the 1600s. I still carry that criminal conviction to this day. So when people say, move on, it's a long time ago, we cannot forget that. And more importantly, we cannot forget what has happened to our communities that lie devastated and destroyed and abandoned.
You know, the police, they were terrible with us. And the first picket that we went on, there was about 10 of us there. And it was at Silver Hill. So we went on to the picket line and there were only a few police there. And then all of a sudden, some more police came. And I don't know why they came. And everything changed. And they got very, very violent. And they picked 2 people up. And then they picked one of our women up. So I went up to Inspector and I said, excuse me, officer, why have you arrested her? He says, get her and all.
When they arrested Lynn, she'd got a little baby at home. And I went up to him and I said, look, she's got a little baby at home. Will you take me and let her go? And he just said she wasn't interested about the little bloody baby this morning, was she? And they wouldn't release Lynn at all because of the baby at home.
They used to pull you by your hair. They were really brutal to us, weren't they, Betty? Yeah.
So do you think you'll get justice?
We certainly cross our fingers, but the one thing that upset me when we got a Labour government after the strike, I fully expected them to reinstate our sack miners, and that didn't happen. And we still want justice for them. We still want justice for Orgreave. We still want justice for the way they ruined our communities and the people, lives that they ruined in the communities. And one day, hopefully, the sun shone in South Africa, it might shine on us.
A striking miner's wife am I, and to me it's a case of do or die. For women are strong and women can cope. We can't afford to let our men lose hope. Women are standing alongside the men and will do so no matter what, why or when. So pull together, girls, and work as a team. It's not as difficult as it may seem. In a soup kitchen you'll find us working.
I live in the East End of London and miners were coming to raise money and they'd come and stay at our flat. The miners' wives then started to come and I was at the film school looking to think of another project to work on. And it just seemed an obvious one to try and chart their lives and what they were going through. And was shocked to learn about the sort of lives those women had before the miners' strike.
Breakfast, pots, tidy kitchen, clean up in your sitting room, go upstairs and make beds. Then it's lunch for them. Then it's tea time. Then it's bath time for kids. And then it's supper time. And then it's bed. And then it's up again. It's the same thing all the time.
Wash and iron. I used to make my housework last night.
Where I thought the film would be great detail about the women's activity during the strike. In fact, what happened, the film became much more about them talking about how their lives have been changed by the strike, and the activities they were involved in became merely illustrative in the celebratory song at the end of the film.
You are women, we are strong, we are fighting for our lives, side by side with our men who work the nation's times, united by the struggle, united by the past, and it's here we go, for the women of the working class. You don't need government's approval for anything we do. You don't need their permission to have a point of view. We don't need anyone to tell us what to think or say. The strength enough and wisdom of our own to go our own way. We are women, we are strong, we are fighting for our lives, side by side with our men who work the nation's mind, united by the struggle, united by the past, and here we go, all the women of the working class. Ours is the unity that rest can never reach. Ours an education books or schools will never teach. We face the taunts and the violence of passion.
The solidarity that exploded during the strike gave us a glimpse of the way the world could be organised. The strike lasted as long as it did because of cooperation between different communities. We understood that trade union rights were the human rights that the state was trying to destroy. We understood that socialism was the alternative to capitalism. We lived and breathed the oxygen of solidarity and knew that another world is possible, and it's not just a dream. My old friend Jerry the Plumber has been very busy recently fixing the boiler in the attic of former Prime Minister and war criminal Tony Blair.
May I just start before I tell you about my latest trip on my plumbing endeavours? Can I say a big thank you to all the MPATV comrades who sent me get well soon cards after my last visit to the Home Secretary. As you can all see, the physical scars have all gone now. However, I have to report that the emotional trauma is still very much with me. Anyway, I barely set foot through the front door from my last visit when the phone rings and some bloke on the other end, sounding very pally, said, "Is that Jezza the Plumber? If you mean Jerry the Plumber, then yes it is." "Oh," he said, "it's Tony Blair." He said, "I've spoken to my bros at Matthew Parker Street," he said. "Yeah, Matty H, Bozza J, Pretty P," and he said, "Of course, Honest Bob J. He said they've all highly recommended you." I said, "Okay." I said, "But could you be a little bit more clearer as to who you are? Have you got a surname?" He said, "Yes." He said, "It's Tony B. Tony Blair." I said, "Not the Tony Blair, ex-leader of the Labour Party." He said, "Yes, that's the one." I said, "Oh." I said, "So which one of your £27 million property portfolio do you want me to come and visit?" He said, "Oh, I'd like you to come to my main residency in Connaught Square." I knock on the door, he answers. "Hello, Jerry," he says. I seem to have some water ingress. He says, I've no idea where it's coming from. I said, oh well, I expect I should better start in the loft. I said, but before I do start, Mr. Blair, when I finish the work, who shall I write the invoice out to? Oh, Jezza, he said, I wouldn't worry about an invoice, he said. How does Lord Jerry of Bethnal Green sound? Anyway, off I go into the loft. There's a bit of damp, a few boxes. One box had a label on, which honour for which donor. Another box had greetings cards from my nearest and dearest. There's one here that says, to my dearest son Anthony, oh, you've always been a son to me and you will carry on my baton. From surrogate mummy, Margaret T. Another one here says, you've been super great. He said, I told you I could make you Prime Minister. That was from some bloke called Rupert M. Another one here has got, thank you for your support. And inside it's got, war, what is it good for? You and me. And that was from Georgie B. Blimey, I think I can hear him coming. Oh, don't worry, Mr. Blair, I think we've sorted it. The problems certainly aren't on the left wing of your residency. All the ingress seems to be coming from the right wing. Blimey.
This programme is made by the Art of Resistance, a collective of artists and film activists who seek to give a voice to the many and not just the few. They are unpaid, but this programme still needs support to cover costs. Their work provides commentary, news, satire and art that you won't see in the mainstream media. If you can, please consider making a donation to keep this programme going. Go to the Art of Resistance website if you would like to make a donation. You can also help by sharing this programme on social media. Thanks very much.
Thanks for that, Karen. You can also buy original art on the Art of Resistance website. Every purchase will help us keep MPATV going. Thanks to all the contributors to the programme, and thank you for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. The programme was produced and edited by Hazuan Hashim, and we both say stay safe and solidarity to you all.